Okay, so we're recording now. All right. So in March is National Nutrition Month, and today's the last day. So the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics does this every year, and the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics is the world's largest organization of food and nutrition professionals. So it is the end all and be all of registered dietitians and the Commission on Dietetic Registration. They're both hand in hand. And they're actually located right here in Chicago. So they set up National Nutrition Month and a theme every year. And this theme this year was personalize your plate. And I am really an advocate of personalizing your plate, in that nutrition is individualized for everyone, and that we have to work nutrition in ways that we enjoy, with foods that satisfy us, and that we're working with our abilities and needs, and utilizing foods that we have access to. So how do we personalize our plate? Oh, now how do I click this, Beth? Oh no.
Are you having trouble with it?
I'm sharing the presentation, but it won't let me click through it. Show control bar, participants chat, thumbnail.
There you go.
I found it. It's a whole different format. I apologize for
Sorry,
that.
no, that's my fault. So thank you.
So I've been celebrating National Nutrition Month all month. So I just want to give you a little scope on what it is. So each year during March, we celebrate National Nutrition Month, which is an annual nutrition education and information campaign sponsored by the Academy. So a lot of the handouts that Beth was talking about are sent straight from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So we'll get those sent to you after the presentation. So National Nutrition Month focuses on the importance of making informed food decisions and developing sound eating and physical activity habits. This one I'm really happy about, Personalize Your Plate, which supports the philosophy that there is no one size fits all approach to nutrition and health. We are all unique with different bodies, different goals, different backgrounds, different tastes, different genetics, different access. We are all different. So our nutrition needs to be individualized. And the best person to do that, and again, I'm going to toot my horn as a registered dietitian, is that they're the experts in nutrition and can tailor a healthful eating plan that is as special as you are. So when we're getting our nutrition information, make sure you're getting it from reputable sources such as registered dietitians. So the objectives of this presentation, we're going to explain the benefits of a healthy eating routine, describe how to personalize your plate at each meal, name 3 ways to make healthier food and beverage choices. Because I think we all can add a little bit more nutrient-dense foods to our diet. So my whole philosophy is about what you can add to your diet rather than restrict from your diet. So you may have heard some other presentations that I've given about bad diets and things like that. So it's all about incorporating nutrient-dense foods to your plate. However, all foods are part of a healthy and well-balanced diet. So like I said, a healthy eating routine, which is also known as a healthy dietary pattern, includes a combination of nutritious foods from all of the food groups: fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, dairy, in the recommended amounts, again, for your weight, height, age, activity level, stress factor, medical issues. So that's why it's so individualized. Research has shown that a healthy dietary pattern, meaning a variety of foods eaten in the right amounts, can help to reduce risk of many chronic conditions, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some types of cancer, and again, just an overall healthy feeling of life. You feel better when you're focusing on your nutrition. All right, so we're personalizing our plate. So National Nutrition Month, or any month really, but National Nutrition Month is a time to maybe get started on focusing on some healthier eating habits. But like I said, there's no time better than the present to focus on adding things to your diet to increase the nutrient density of your diet. Don't do the New Year's resolution where you vow never to eat carbohydrates again or go on the keto diet. It's every day making small choices that impact your health. Fruits, vegetables, grains, protein foods, and dairy, again, just like we do, come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. And the combination of the foods and the amount you will want will depend on you. What satisfies you, what taste you're looking for, your cultural preferences, what you know how to cook, all can have an effect on your personal plate. So you need to personalize your plate to what works for you. Now, if you have some medical nutrition needs that you need some guidance on, that's when you can always consult a registered dietitian. So if you're working towards meal planning, if you've been diagnosed with diabetes or high cholesterol, again, you want to work with your doctor, your primary care physician, or a registered dietitian to determine exactly what those needs are to help you. I think we've all seen My Plate, and it is a really great visual source of what your plate should look like. And again, personalized. So half of our plate should be filled with fruits and veggies. And the ones that we like and we enjoy in a variety of different colors, again, that you enjoy, whether they're cooked, whether they're raw, however you enjoy your vegetables. If you need to add a little butter, a little cheese sauce to your vegetables, it's better than not eating the vegetables. So we're trying to increase that fiber, increase that variety, increase those minerals and nutrients by making half of your plate full of fruits and vegetables. The other quarter of your plate should be some type of grain. And we should aim for 50% of our grains to be whole grain. But again, that still leaves plenty of room for other grains. White bread and pasta and white rice are not forbidden foods. They can be incorporated into a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Again, aiming for 50% of those grains to be whole grains. So whole wheat pasta, quinoa, brown rice are whole grain options, or whole grain breads, sprouted breads, etc. But again, do not demonize those other wonderful carbohydrates. Nice sticky white rice with sushi, brown rice would not cut it. So we need to enjoy our food as well. And then the other quarter of your plate is a protein-rich food. So our protein-rich foods obviously include beef, and you want to shoot for leaner cuts of beef. Chicken, fish, legumes, tofu are all great sources of protein. And then dairy. Dairy should be included in your diet with every meal, unless of course you're lactose intolerant. But dairy is a great way to get calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, protein, and a little bit of fat, which is all necessary for your body to function appropriately. And again, if you have a lactose intolerance, you can do some type of milk substitute. So how to add more fruits to your diet. So fruits can be eaten by themselves or paired with other foods like low-fat or fat-free yogurt, or used as ingredients in smoothies, sauces, salads, and more. 1.5 to 2 cups of fruit daily might sound like a lot, but a small apple would be considered 1 cup. So 1 apple is a serving, and it's a small apple. And some of these giant apples that we see in the grocery store are probably 2 to 2.5 servings of fruit. So don't be overwhelmed when you're thinking about trying to add these, like it could be too much. Just keep in mind that 1 serving is just a small apple. Plus, the servings of fruit can be spread throughout the day. You can include fruits with breakfast. You can enjoy fruit as a healthy snack. You can look for recipes that feature fruit, such as salads or main dishes. You can satisfy a sweet tooth by substituting fruit in place of other desserts. But if you're really craving the cookie, eat the cookie. Because if you satisfy that sweet tooth with an apple, I guarantee you're going to be eating 5 cookies later on. So just remember that there is room for those added sugars in moderation in your diet. Okay, so no restricting, but obviously focusing on adding some nutrient density to your diet is the key. All right, veggies. For me, veggies are easier to get into my diet than fruit. I don't go for fruit as much, and I don't know if that's true for, and that could be opposite for some people. So get creative by trying vegetables that are new to you. Go to the grocery store, grab a different vegetable, or now that summer's coming up, Those CSAs are a great way if you get a little farmer's box. Again, it's sustainable, it's local, and you get to try new vegetables. And a lot of these farms, local farms, will put little recipe cards in there for you to get to know their vegetable. This is how my husband and I really started to enjoy kohlrabi. We got it in a farmer's box, a CSA, and then we ended up planting it in our garden, a vegetable that we never ate, but then harvested ourselves and ended up cooking it often and feeding it to our family. So just be open to trying new vegetables. Experiment with preparing your favorite vegetables in new ways. Steam, roast, boil, bake. Roasted vegetables are my favorite. You can add a little butter, you can add cheese. Again, enjoy your vegetables as healthy snacks, and try to have a variety of different colored vegetables throughout the week. Again, variety is key in your diet. The more colors of fruits and vegetables that you're incorporating, the more vitamins and minerals. So each color typically has a different component that is helping with your health. So some of those antioxidants are related to the color of the fruit or vegetable. Grains. Grains are pretty easy to include. I think the standard American diet, we don't have much of a problem adding carbohydrate. But again, if you've had this mentality that grains are bad, or if you've been restricting grains due to a fad diet, then sometimes there might be some guilt or shame associated with adding these whole grains. But you have to understand that grains, even processed grains or white breads, are enriched and fortified often with B vitamins. And B vitamins are incredibly essential to our health. They actually really help our metabolism and help convert those calories into energy. So that's why often when you're deficient in B vitamins, you kind of feel tired. So to include grains, select whole grains for sandwiches and toast. And again, if you don't care for whole grain bread, maybe try a softer white bread that is a whole grain bread. So they have some bread that actually has fiber in it, but it still is nice and soft like that white bread. So that's a good tip if you don't really like the taste of that whole grain bread. Use whole wheat flour in baked goods if you can, if you bake. Choose whole grain corn or whole wheat tortillas for tacos and wraps. Substitute whole grain noodles for pasta, or use brown rice and stir fry dishes or with curries. And again, we're shooting for 50% of our grains whole. So there is still room in your diet for some of those more enriched processed grains. And again, that is so you're not restricting yourself and then binging on those white flours, because we have demonized them so much. So everything is included in moderation. Some other whole grains that aren't listed on here that we can always try. Of course, there's not only brown rice, there's red, black, purple, and wild rice. Wild rice is actually a grass seed. The whole thing with whole grains is there's added fiber. So the fiber is the important part. We need to shoot for about 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day, and whole grains are a great way to get that fiber in your diet. Oats, whole wheat pasta, buckwheat, cornmeal, whole grain popcorn. So if you like snacking on popcorn, that's a great way to get a little bit of fiber in your diet. So the amount of grains recommended daily for adult ranges from 5 to 8 ounce equivalents. And like we said, at least half of those should be whole. Okay, and a serving is about 15 grams of carbohydrate, or let's say like a half a cup of rice or a half a cup of pasta. So about the size of your fist when you're thinking about a serving. So if you're going 5 to 8 fistful of grains, you're looking at like 8 slices of bread, regular bread. If you're looking at high fiber bread, that's like 16 slices of high fiber bread to have throughout the day. So you may be not eating enough. Oftentimes that's an issue. You're not getting enough nutrients, because the more nutrients you have, the better efficiency your body works at. Protein. What do we know about protein? I think we've glorified protein a little bit in the recent years. It's a very important macronutrient, but too much is not necessarily a good thing. Too much of anything isn't necessarily a good thing. But you definitely need your protein. Include a variety of protein foods prepared in a healthful way. So try to add some plant-based protein into your diet as well, and seafood. Seafood such as salmon, halibut, sardines, mackerel, tuna, anything, shrimp. A lot of the seafoods are high in omega-3 fatty acids, which we need more of in the diet because the standard American diet is typically higher in omega-6. But anyway, I digress. Beans, peas, lentils, nuts, and seeds are all sources of protein. And then when you are selecting your meat, try to select leaner cuts of meat with less saturated fat, such as skinless poultry, lean ground beef, pork, turkey, etc. And eggs are another fantastic option for protein. And again, evidence is showing that dietary cholesterol, so if you're scared about eggs, that dietary cholesterol does not equally translate to high cholesterol levels. The more concerning nutrient is the saturated fat. So again, eggs are a very nutrient dense, high protein, vitamin packed food. So I certainly would incorporate eggs into your diet and don't be too fearful of their cholesterol content because they're not contributing much. Dairy products are also a great source of protein. Milk, cheese, cottage cheese, yogurt are great to include as a high protein snack. And again, I said, I won't touch on dairy again because we just touched on that, but dairy is an important nutrient to include. And again, if you're lactose intolerant, this is something that you can't include, but there are some milk alternatives. My favorite milk alternative right now, there's some oat milks and some hemp milks that are a little bit more nutrient dense than almond milk. Almond milk doesn't really have the nutrient density. A lot of things are added to almond milk to actually increase the calcium. So those two are a little bit closer in proximity to milk. But again, milk has the best ratio of calcium, vitamin D, magnesium, protein, fat, etc. So if there's no reason that you can't enjoy dairy products, I would include them as part of your diet. About 2 to 3 servings per day. Now, I did say that you don't want to restrict anything out of your diet, and all foods are good foods. However, we do want to be mindful of saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars. And not obsessively mindful, but mindful that we're focusing on adding all the nutrient-dense foods to our diet and just being cognizant of how much added sugars, sodium, and saturated fat that we're eating. So eat rice right with less added sugar. This slide's a little busy, but you can sweeten low-fat plain yogurt with fresh, frozen, or canned fruit in place of fruit-flavored yogurt. Or there are some yogurts on the market that are artificially sweetened. But I try to stay away from some of the artificially sweetened things. You want to look for a sugar with less added, or a yogurt, I'm sorry, with less than 9 grams of added sugar. And again, it's hard to find those on the market necessarily. So having that plain yogurt and adding fresh, frozen, or canned fruit is a good alternative to that. Add cinnamon and dried fruit to plain cooked oats instead of using instant flavored oatmeal. They do have some good instant oatmeals out there that are higher in protein, lower in sugar, and higher in fiber. So go for things like that to limit your sugar intake. Enjoy healthier drinks like plain milk and water for young children and for adults. So don't focus so much on sugar sweetened beverages. Rather, water is king. Or if you like sparkling water and want to infuse it with some fruit, or if you don't like the taste of plain water, there are plenty of products on the market that you can add some flavor to your water. Switch from sweetened to unsweetened applesauce, drink plain low-fat milk instead of chocolate milk, use jams and jellies with no sugar added, enjoy a homemade smoothie with frozen fruit, low-fat milk, and yogurt in place of ice cream. Like I said, if you want the ice cream, go for it. Ice cream every day or all day every day is not the best option, but there's nothing like enjoying an ice cream cone with your kids or significant other or friends on a hot sunny day. So quench your thirst with water instead of, like I said, those energy drinks, sports drinks, sugar. So just be cognizant that you're using those occasionally. And, you know, sugar makes life good on occasion. We can celebrate with birthday cake and an ice cream cone. Eat right with less salt. The 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans recommends less than 2,300 milligrams per day of sodium. So the way to reduce our sodium content in our food is to focus on fresh foods and vegetables, cooking more often at home. Restaurants tend to add a little bit more sodium. Processed and frozen foods have a little bit more sodium. So if you're dealing with hypertension or you know that you're salt sensitive and that you need to watch your sodium, you can use other salt substitutes like Mrs. Dash, or use herbs and seasonings to add flavor. Lemon, garlic, chili powder, all add a little bit of seasoning without the sodium, or a little bit of flavor, I mean. Eat right with less saturated fat. Again, saturated fat typically comes from animal products. So the more plants you're eating, the less likelihood that you'll be eating saturated fats. But then opt for leaner cuts of meat, eat more fruits and vegetables, and then choose lower fat or reduced fat dairy. So what else can you do? Like we've discussed, make half of your plates fruits and veggies. That's ensuring that you're getting vitamins, minerals, fiber, phytonutrients, antioxidants in your diet. Make mindfulness part of your meal routine. This is something that I really like to discuss. Sitting down and enjoying your meal without distractions, and really focusing on what you're eating and enjoying the meal experience often leads to better eating habits. It's just like we have sleep hygiene, we should have meal hygiene. You should try as often as you can. And I know life is busy and things get in the way, but to really sit down and focus on the sensory experience of your meal, your hunger and your fullness cues, and really listen to your body when you're consuming your food. Again, eat meals as a family or with others. What else can you do? You can reduce stress, easier said than done, but just finding those things that you enjoy, incorporating joyful movement, meditation, journaling, reading, spending time with friends, trying to shake off the little stuff. Incorporate movement that you love. That's for me, the incorporating movement is probably one of the best things for my health, because not only is it a physical, but it's also a mental release. And I think that's the same for a lot of folks, that taking that time to actually just do movement that you love. And it doesn't have to be heart pounding, intense, dripping sweat exercise, unless that's what you love to do. Incorporating movement is just sitting less, getting up, dance party, whatever you want to do, walking, yoga, stretching, anything that just gets your body moving. Experiment a little bit with plant-based meals. So do you need to have an actual animal-based protein at every meal? Can you have like a bean burrito or a lentil stew or something, just to focus on adding more fiber and nutrients to your diet? I often say, people are like, well, you know, how do you have a plant-based diet and still eat meat? Meat is often should be the condiment to your meal. It's a, you know, like a little flavor enhancer. 3 ounces of meat or a quarter of your plate, and the rest is plant-based foods. So you don't have to be a vegetarian or a vegan even to enjoy a plant-based diet. It's just focusing on incorporating more fruits and veggies and whole grains. Use caution with supplements. Always try to get your nutrition from food first. And if you do want to utilize a supplement, please consult with your primary care physician or trusted registered dietitian to make sure that that supplement doesn't interact with any medications or any other herbal supplements that you may be interested in taking. And again, get your nutrition info from an RD. There are lots of influencers on social media, as you probably all have seen, from health coaches to self-proclaimed nutritionists to wellness gurus to fitness experts, and everyone's telling you what you should and shouldn't eat. However, consult your nutrition expert, which is the registered dietitian. So you can start simple. You can go to My Plate, choose myplate.gov, and it gives you some more great tips on personalizing your plate and adding nutrient density to your plate. My plate serves as a reminder to include the right mix of foods when you eat, and choosing a variety of foods from each food group will help you meet your nutrient needs. Okay, so it's all about variety and balance. Find a nutrition expert at www.eatright.org. If you're looking for a registered dietitian, you can find one there. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, and if there's any questions, I wasn't paying attention to the comment box while I was speaking, so maybe I should do that. Now, why won't it let me stop sharing? Oh, up here. Close. Okay. No, got it. All right, so I'm going to check to see if there's some questions. Extra credits. It's way up tonight. Tiny arrows. No, thank you. Okay, any questions? I don't have any questions in the chat box right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you in terms of like serving sizes. I know you had mentioned earlier an apple, the larger apple is about 2.5 servings. So do you have any kind of quick ways to sort of understand what some of the serving sizes are? So for example, like a fist can represent, different serving sizes for different things. You might want to chat about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of people are visual, and I don't like anybody measuring, counting, or doing any of that. So to utilize it, kind of eyeball it and utilize it with your eyes. So it's good to have that visual. So let's say a protein is like a deck of cards. Has everybody heard that? Like a serving of protein, 3 ounces of protein is about a deck of cards. So that's what you want to stick out. And again, it's all dependent and individual to you. So each person is going to need a different amount of servings per day, but typically a nice serving is 3 ounces. I always go with proteins, any 1 ounce of lean meat. So let's say if you want 4 servings of protein, you would do a 4-ounce chicken breast. So when they say servings is a size, that's like an average portion. So it's more for a portion size. Sorry, I'm confusing people. So a portion size is a deck of cards, but a serving is 1 ounce. So that's what gets confusing. So your portion may be larger than a deck of cards, depending on your protein needs. But typically a serving of protein is 1 ounce. So if you calculate your protein needs and you need 10 servings of protein a day, that's 10 ounces of protein. Okay. And you can kind of eyeball that by 3 ounces is a deck of cards. So if you need 10 ounces of protein, you need 3 decks of cards of protein per day. Does that make sense? Carbohydrate, again, is about a 1/2 cup. So again, it's a small fist, and it depends on people's fist sizes too. So a small woman's fist, because some men have massive, and some women could too, but a fist. And then for any type of fat, peanut butter, cheese, 1 ounce of cheese is about the tip of your thumb. 1 ounce of peanut butter or oil is about the tip of your thumb. So when you're thinking about serving sizes for that, that's what you would do. 4 ounces of a beverage product, that's a little bit harder. If you think of those juice glasses, those little tiny juice glasses that you see at restaurants, those are 4 ounces. So 1 serving of fruit actually equals 4 ounces of 100% fruit juice. So one of those small glasses. Legumes, again, 1/2 cup. Leafy vegetables would be a whole cup. So that's like 2 fistfuls, or a small salad bowl full of leafy greens. And again, portion control on veggies, you want to focus on, but often we can eat as many fruits and veggies as we want, as long as you're comfortable. And make sure if you're increasing fruits and veggies, you're increasing water intake too. So I hope that helps.
Yes, and we had one question. What are your thoughts on smoothies, like fresh made or not, versus more standard meal prep?
Sure. I'm all about convenience. If you can get your fruits and veggies and some dairy in with a smoothie, and that works for your routine, like if you're not eating breakfast and you'd rather make a smoothie to do that, I think that's a great alternative. To drink smoothies all day long as meal replacements, probably not the best option, because part of you want to digest your food too. You want your stomach working to mechanically digest that food, and just having liquid all day long doesn't really lead to satiety, and it may lead you to overeat if you're not consuming other foods with that, because the liquid goes through your stomach much faster. So definitely for breakfast, but make sure that it has some type of protein and fat in it as well. Not just an ice and fruit and veggie smoothie, because what'll happen, you'll be hungry 3 minutes later, literally three. So make sure that it has, some good fiber. I like to do a banana, and then Costco, again, I'm lazy and I have 2 small kids. So convenience is huge for me. They have these pre-portioned berry and like kale frozen veggie things, smoothie things. You stick one of those in with a little bit of milk, some yogurt. I usually use like Chobani, Greek yogurt, and then a whole banana, and I mix it up, and that makes enough for me and my 2 kids. So again, smoothies are great to get in some fruits and veggies, but don't rely on them for every meal of the day. What would you recommend for dairy-free diets when part of the plate is dairy? Great question. There's a lot of milk alternatives, dairy alternatives, cheese alternatives, and depending on what your tolerance is, some people can tolerate yogurt, some people can tolerate ice cream, some people cannot. So depending on your tolerance, there's a lot of great brands out there that are lactose free. And again, like I said, oat milk, hemp milk, and then if you really don't care for any of those, just make sure that you're getting adequate calcium and vitamin D from other sources. And of course, there are non-dairy sources. Vegetables, certain spinach and greens do have calcium, but it's less bioavailable than that's in dairy. So dairy is the easiest to absorb, and you absorb the most from dairy products, but that does not mean that you can't get calcium and those other nutrients from certain fruits and vegetables. We just have to make more of a conscious effort. Just dairy is just the easiest. And then
I
what
have
type?
one. Oh,
Okay.
no. I had one. When working out, what's better, eat before or after, and what would you consider a good food choice for working out?
Okay. Again, I'm all about a balanced amount of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. And if you have not eaten a meal before you work out, you always want to eat it, have something a couple hours before. You may not want to eat immediately prior to a workout, because that can cause some, stomach discomfort and distension while you're working out. But definitely make sure that you have something with protein, fat, and carbohydrate before you work out. After your workout, it is essential to replace your carbohydrates, especially if you're an endurance athlete or if you're really training hard. You need, because your blood sugar spikes. So what happens when you're working out is your storage carbohydrates, the glycogen in your muscles is depleted. And this goes into your bloodstream, causing your insulin to spike. If you don't replete that, your blood sugar is going to get really low. So again, having a little bit of carbohydrate and, some protein, but mostly carbohydrate after that workout to replenish your glycogen stores is a good tip. What else I had? What type of protein do you recommend with a smoothie? Like I said, you can, I add yogurt and milk to mine, but again, if you don't care for, or you're not doing dairy, you can add almond milk, hemp milk, soy milk, oat milk, any of those, other milks, peanut butter, nut butters. You can add protein powder if you'd like. So if you don't, but again, I'm all about food first, but if this is already in your routine and you're using a protein powder, that's fine, but just make sure that you're getting adequate sources of protein in your diet besides just the powders. What type of milk is better for you, almond, soy, or coconut? I'm not a fan of almond milk, to be honest. I don't think it's very nutrient dense. It's just like watery flavored almond. And I know that almond flavored water. So and I know there's a lot of misconceptions about soy and estrogen and the isoflavones and the cancer risk. But soy is a good protein source. Coconut milk, I'm really leaning towards oat milk and hemp milk as the most nutrient dense. But out of the three of those, I would say soy milk is probably the most nutrient dense of those three milks. And again, there's a lot of misinformation surrounding soy. So soy can be enjoyed in our diet in moderation. Again, you would have to consume a lot of soy for there to be any hormonal effects. That's my favorite snacks is banana and peanut butter before working out. Perfect.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier about protein shakes and so forth. I'm just curious, is there any indicator like, if you drink protein and then you're getting it in your diet, can you like eat too much protein? And if so, like
Yes.
how would you know that?
It's tough to actually know because the damage is pretty silent. So if you consume above your normal average needed recommended intake of protein a day, what is happening is your body is excreting it in the urine. So our bodies only utilize what we need. And so for consuming above and beyond that, it's excreted. And it's a hard work for the kidney to break down protein and get rid of that nitrogen. That's what we're getting rid of when we consume protein. The metabolites are nitrogen, and our body has to excrete that. So it's a strain on the kidneys. So long-term ingestion of a lot of protein can cause damage to your kidneys, but you won't know this until you're probably much older. But if you're getting chronic UTIs or if you're having, pain in your kidneys, you're either dehydrated or you might want to get your kidneys checked out. But again, it would take quite a while. Other things, if you're eating too much protein, you're likely not ingesting enough carbohydrate. So you're going to feel sluggish. Everyone's heard of the keto flu, I think, where you don't feel well, your breath doesn't smell right, you have brain fog, things of that nature, all from consuming too much protein and not enough carbohydrate. And what are your thoughts on pre-workout, like the powder stuff? Like powder supplements or?
I'm assuming it probably like they're a wide variety, but it's kind of like it's like some of them contain caffeine and so forth. So I think a lot of times people use pre-workout kind of boost, get ready for a workout, but making the assumption. So whoever asked the question, if it's different, let me know.
Okay. Kayla asked the question, is that what you're asking? So for me, I'm all about food first, as I said. So if this is something in your routine and there aren't ingredients that are, really harmful to you, then it's fine. However, I'm all about food first. I would rather you have a hard-boiled egg and a piece of fruit prior to a workout and maybe some carbohydrate than have something, because again, it's money spent, and oftentimes those powders and supplements are not FDA regulated, so you don't really know what you're getting. And oftentimes you are excreting everything. If your body doesn't need it, you pee it out. So you have expensive urine. If you really notice that your workout is enhanced when you take this, that might be a placebo effect. But if you stop taking it and you're still getting the same results, it may not have been working the way you thought it was. So just kind of experiment with it. Oh, great. Okay. So Kayla says, I don't actually use it. I was just wondering since I see it advertised so much. Yep. A lot of these supplements, wellness products, I forget to mention that the wellness industry is a $72 billion industry growing every day. These companies oftentimes, I mean, some people might be conscious of health, but ultimately they're conscious of making money off of our insecurities. So yeah, a lot of influencers out there. That's true.
And I mean, I know you're not an expert in this area, but I think someone who does, look at some of the things that are out there, how would someone know that, like what are some things to look out for that are on the internet, maybe especially as it relates to food and nutrition and supplements and so forth?
Great question. Great question. So if anyone tells you to expect results immediately, that you'll lose X amount of pounds in 10 days, use the words detox, cleanse, or anything like that, it's likely not real information. Or if they encourage you to eliminate an entire food group from your diet for whatever reason, or outrageous claims that if taking this product will lead to you know, you'll never develop cancer or chronic disease, and you'll lose all kind, and you'll be happy and healthy. Any like really outrageous claims. Celebrities don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to Gwyneth Paltrow. Don't listen to Jennifer Aniston. Gwyneth Paltrow's the worst, in my opinion. So again, any real major celebrity endorsements, I wouldn't listen or buy that product.
And I think, especially being a person in the wellness, I think people, what you often don't see is the behind the scenes. So those folks have tend to have a lot of money, right? And so I think money can often, you know, make someone look a certain way. So I think while they might promote a product and saying, hey, like you can look a certain way, I think always be skeptical about what they're saying.
Sure. Like I said, Jennifer Aniston has a personal trainer. She can spend all kinds of time working out, a personal chef, I'm sure, and great genetics. I mean, ultimately, she has great genetics. I could do exactly what Jennifer Aniston does, have all of her money, and I may still not look like Jennifer Aniston. It's regardless of what I do. So.
And I know that running season and hope, you know, as the pandemic hopefully you know, gets better, I think more races or more opportunities to do like half marathons or, you know, different activities like that will hopefully increase. But I'm just curious, I think sometimes there's a myth of you should carbo load before a race. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. I think it's important to make sure that you have adequate carbohydrates before a race, but also make sure that you have other nutrients too. So a big pasta dinner is fine, and that's kind of a tradition with cross country and marathon runners. And it's more, I think, about the camaraderie that goes with it also, but making sure that you're balancing your diet and that you're just not eating a big bowl of spaghetti, because again, that'll affect your blood sugar a little bit differently, but making sure that you're having adequate carb, protein, and fat. And not a lot of sodium, because when you're going into a race the next day, you don't want to be filled with fluid because you'll probably get some fluid retention while you're running. So again, yes, we do need adequate carbohydrates, especially if you're doing endurance, but once your glycogen stores are filled in your muscles, the carbohydrate has nowhere else to go. So it usually gets transferred into your fat stores, which is not a bad thing, because once you deplete your glycogen stores, you're going to start burning fat. So again, moderate carbohydrate. It's not 100% carbs and then no protein or fat. But definitely a higher carbohydrate meal is not, it's not out of bounds. There's reasons for it. It helps you replete your glycogen before a big race. Someone asked, sorry, joined late. What is a good ratio of protein to carbs? Okay. So the US dietary guidelines, and again, this is very individual for folks. So if you have any pre-existing medical issues where you should be on a low protein diet, et cetera, but typically we want 50% of our calories coming from carbohydrates, about 30% coming from fat, and 20% coming from protein. Is that it? Did I do the math right? 50, 80, 20, that's 100. So that's 100% of your diet. And again, it's going to depend. So if you're, say, pre-diabetic or diabetic, you might decrease the portion of carbohydrates to maybe 35 to 45%, and increase protein, okay? Fat's going to stay pretty much consistent. You might decrease fat a little bit in that case. But again, the normal standard American diet, most of our calories are coming from carbohydrate, because everything has carbohydrate. Whole grains, fruits, vegetables even have a little bit of carbohydrate. Dairy products have a little bit of carbohydrate, especially milk. And again, half your plate is fruits and vegetables. So the majority of your calories are going to come from carbs. And then fat is an important nutrient, because fat doesn't necessarily make us fat. Fat is important for our brain health. All of our cell membranes are made of fat and cholesterol. So we need lipids, obviously focusing on unsaturated fats rather than saturated fats. Katie asked, what is the best way for someone to connect with an RD? So you can look on eatright.org, which has a listing of RDs if they've opted to join that listserv. Dietitian Central has a listserv as well. If you look at health professionals or healthprofs.com, You can find a variety of different dietitians and healthcare professionals on that.
And would you be able to send those out? Maybe you included it in what you sent me. I just wanted to make sure that folks had access to those.
.com, I think. Dietitian Central.
And you can give your shameless plug as well, Mia.
What is that? Oh, that I'm a dietitian?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I know you have Olive Branch.
Yes, and I am also a practicing dietitian. I have a small private practice, Olive Branch Nutrition. I specialize in disordered eating, chronic dieting, eating disorders, and then general nutrition prevention and management of chronic disease. So you can always reach out to me too, Olive Branch Nutrition, and I'll put my website up there. Sometimes I wonder why I chose such a lengthy website too. Anyone else?
I think one other thing that you had mentioned earlier is convenience. And I don't think it can be overstated. I know you had mentioned it before, but I think there is a lot of confusion between what's healthier, frozen or canned or fresh. And so if you can maybe chat a little bit.
Absolutely. So what's the healthiest is just eat your dang vegetables, no matter what form they come in. So fresh vegetables are probably, you would think that they are the healthiest, but they're the healthiest at when they're local and in season around your area. Okay, so if you have access to, farm fresh produce or your own garden, that's obviously, the healthiest version because you're going to get the most nutrient density. The second healthiest is what I think, and healthiest is what I mean by highest nutrient density. So the nutrients haven't been leached out yet. I would say would be frozen. So an option when we're not in season in wintertime, typically when you're harvesting, you're flash freezing right away. So you're literally harvesting the fruit or vegetable and then freezing it immediately. So it's retaining its nutrition. Then I would go with, fresh produce that's maybe out of season. I mean, it's still healthy, it's still good. And then the only reason I put canned at the end of the list is often canned vegetables have some added sodium. So canned vegetables can be just as healthy as fresh or frozen. You just rinse them off under, clear, cool water just to get rid of some of that excess sodium if you're watching your salt intake. But all fruits and vegetables are healthy. And for me, the best way for me to get in those fruits and vegetables is doing it convenient. I'm not the one to sit there and spend hours prepping vegetables and prepping salads. My preference, and if you can't afford it, is to buy like salad mixes or pre-cut produce. Like those baby carrots are easy for me to grab. If I have to sit there and peel a carrot in order to eat it, I'm not doing it. If I can just have the baby carrots, then I'll eat those. Or the salad mix, I'll open it up and pour it in a bag. And it's getting a lot of variety in there too. I'm eating kale, red cabbage, jicama, things that I wouldn't necessarily eat because I wouldn't buy those at the store and sit there and prep the salad. So frozen's okay. Frozen broccoli is fantastic. It's easy. Costco has these big bags and they come in smaller individual bags and you just microwave them for, 5 minutes if you don't feel like boiling them or roasting them or whatnot. So make your life easier and just get vegetables in whichever way you can, whatever's the most convenient and accessible way.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, as I mentioned earlier, I will send out some resources that Mia sent me along with some of those websites. So if you have questions or want to access some of the materials later, you can do so. And please let us know if you have any other questions if something comes up. But we're just closing out National Nutrition Month with the one and only Mia. So thank you today for sharing information. And my last words of wisdom are to get out there and do some movement that you enjoy today, whether it be walking or whatever it is, enjoy some fresh air.
Yes, it's nice out. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. Oh,